This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So who is on the call right now? Is that I see Rose, I see Molly, I hear David. Anybody else?
Brian's on there.
Okay.
Okay, we're good
All
to
right.
go.
So all right, very good. So we left off on starting to enter the style master because all the prerequisites have been done for us. We dropped off with entering the size code and the season. And I began talking about locations. Again, I will cover locations more when we talk about production side of Blue Cherry. Just an FYI to remind you again, locations is basically every entity but the customer. So your contractors, your vendors, your suppliers, your warehouse, everything is basically set up as a location in Blue Cherry. Locations will have different types. You could have a type W for warehouse. You could have location type V for vendor, location type C for contractor. And again, I'll talk about it in more details when we get to it. However, for allocation purposes, and I think the plan right now is that you guys are going to be using allocations in Blue Cherry is basically try not to set up any default location so that make sure allocation works correctly. So we're going to leave this field as blank right now, okay? Moving on from location into standard cost. So here is a standard cost field, and that field, you could key it in directly into Blue Cherry Style Master screen.
Max, wait 1 second. Somebody, please mute your phone until your guys, if you want to talk, so we're getting some background noise, please. Go ahead, Max.
Sure. Thank you. So the standard costs, again, they could be entered manually into StyleMaster, or they can be updated, from the cost sheet. If you do create a cost sheet and you freeze the cost sheet, then you could have an option to populate standard costs for you here. For the sake of this training, I will just manually enter the cost for this napkin. Let's say this particular napkin will be $1.50. And again, this is the standard cost. It's not FIFO cost or WAC cost. Those costs do exist in Blue Cherry as well. They in different tables. So this is just a standard cost here. Okay. Moving on from standard cost to planner. Basically, planner is anybody who is working and planning this style. Again, not a required field. However, you do have an option to populate this if you want to. As of right now, basically, it pulls up every single user who's been set up in Blue Cherry. I see that right now the only person that's been set up is David. I do know that in test we do have everybody else set up. So, we could pick David or just leave this blank. So I'm going to leave planner blank right now. Moving on to a primary vendor. Again, this is a non-required field, just like a location. Primary vendor is basically, the contractor or the vendor who is supplying you this style on a pretty much regular basis. Again, we could leave this blank, or if you right now there's no locations, but we could populate this strictly used for reporting purposes. And only works with location type C, which is a contract, or location type V. It will not pick up location type W, which is a warehouse. Moving on to the next one.
I'm sorry, I missed. You say that if there's a primary vendor, that means then we can have secondary and tertiary vendors on an item?
Not to my knowledge. We can set up maybe a UDF fields, user defined fields, for secondary and tertiary, and how many you have. But typically, it doesn't. I mean, if you do think that there's a purpose for your particular business, yes, we could assign this, but it doesn't have any functionality, to my knowledge, built into it. It's strictly a reporting functionality, but we can definitely create, UDF fields that could serve that purpose if you need
Okay,
that.
so I guess reality is that we could always run reports based on when we actually write a production order and we receive it in. We could run vendor reports that way. So this
Oh,
is just
you could
format.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, you could definitely do that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Moving on to style content. So I think we created 100% cotton for this napkin, so I'm going to pick that one up. As you could see, it's populated, and because sometimes codes are meaningless, so it does give you a nice description of it, so you know exactly what this is. Moving on to style type. So right now, normally across customer style types are either AVG or RM, which is finished goods or raw materials. Again, non-required field. If you do have that kind of breakdown, for your styles, then I would recommend that you populate this. If you're only going to be doing finished goods in the system, that you probably will need style type. And then again, you could think about using it for different purposes, but normally so far I've seen people using style types to separate finished goods and raw materials. So I'll keep that as FG for now. And moving on into commission here. So commission, basically you could overwrite, because so commissions are normally by, again, and I know in your case you guys don't do commissions. You're strictly on non-commission basis, but if you ever decide to do this, commissions are normally assigned to either a customer, using customer sales records, but you can overwrite commission by style. So for example, if you have better margins on a particular style and you feel like you could give better commission to somebody, you can override this commission by style. So but again, in our case right now, there's no commission set up whatsoever, because your salesperson is basically an internal house salesperson. Design number. So this design number, I would, Molly could correct me, but my expectation is, once you create a design record in the PLM system and once you promote to a style master, the design number will be populated automatically upon promotion. Again, you could pick this up manually as well when you enter a style. I see there are 2 designs in the system right now. I will not populate this, but my expectation is there's going to be an automatic connection to a PLM system here. Piece goods number. I'm sorry, what, Molly?
That's correct.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Piece goods number, again, this is for fabric. If you do have piece goods number, you could populate this here. Third party item, this is usually used in connection to any other systems. You could think about a contractor, maybe like a vendor number, or sometimes warehouse could create different third party items and so on. You could populate that in this field. Next on the list would be style description. So this is I've seen many cases people do use style name, which is basically also a description of a style. However, you can write a much longer description here. I believe your limit is 255 characters on the style description field here, and you could write a much longer description. The way I think it might work for you, maybe there's going to be a connection to a Shopify. I know you do have an e-commerce integrator there. Maybe there's a way to push style descriptions here. I'm not 100% sure. So we can, look to see if there's a push for that. But, again, up to 255 characters could be put here. And then the last flag is a discontinued flag. Again, default is no. If you know, once you do decide that the flag is once you do decide that the item is being discontinued, you can flag this. You could still create sales orders and production orders. Unlike Apologize. You could create sales orders for this style. Once it discontinued, you won't be able to create production orders for this anymore. So basically, you're also stopping to sell this style. Okay. So this is the header information, and that's basically what's presented to you immediately as soon as you open the windows. Now, I just want to also show you a couple of things here. All the information here in Blue Cherry is presented to you in bands. We call this bands. So you have a header band, you have a workflow band, additional header band, images, and detail band, right? So each band can be open and closed. So, you could position your screens however you want to. You could sometimes drag certain things up and down, just like you see I'm in detail band, so I could drag the window to obtain better visibility into what's on that screen, again, because you're limited by screen resolution and how much you could see. So sometimes it helps to minimize or maximize these bands. You could also hide the bands if you don't want to see them. For example, let's say I don't want to see the workflow band. So I could click on Show Hide Bands here. I could click Workflow. They have different options here. You could hide all bands. You could show all bands, or you could click on this to toggle the visibility. So as you can see, my workflow right now, it's either unchecked or checked. So and as I'm clicking this, it either shows up here or disappears. So let me put it back right now. But sometimes people just want to see detail in the header, and that's about it. And as you can see, I'm only now looking at header detail, so my screen is much cleaner. And that's also part of screen setup. It plays with Screen Builder. On Screen Builder, you could also decide what bands are going to show up by default and which ones are going to be hidden. But when you're working with the record, you could also unhide these bands. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to unhide the bands. Okay, they're back on the screen, and let's continue. So we're finished with header. Let's talk about workflow details. So workflow, I don't believe they are going to be used at Alreen at all. I actually don't really know what their purpose is. I think they are used for calendar in possibly production or development. Molly, do you by chance know what the workflow is used for, or is it part of PLM at all?
Yeah, it's essentially a way to interactively trigger tasks to different responsibles or different assignments throughout the organization. If you have different departments from design to product development or onward. I don't know how far down it goes beyond PLM, to tell you the truth, but I would say for the most part, a lot of our customers don't end up using workflow because it becomes like you're micromanaging your employees to a certain extent. I'm based off of what I see in Alreen, you guys' organizational structure is so simple that I don't think that it's worth it for you guys to implement workflows, but it's a functionality that's in Blue Cherry we can keep in mind in case there is some complexity where you guys want to track things or trigger things.
Okay, thank you, Molly. All right, so I am going to minimize workflow, and I'm going to jump into now additional header information here. So additional header information is basically additional data that doesn't show up on the header level. And it just as it's called additional data for header specifically. Now, just again, I wanted to talk about this. As I mentioned before, in Blue Cherry, most of the screens have header data and detail data. So for example, in Style Master, header data is your, style name, size code, style description, and then details, which right now are empty, would be your color. So if that style comes in black, ivory, gray, and so forth, those would be your detail records. Detail records can also have additional information to them. But we'll talk about this when we start setting up the detail for this style. Again, you cannot save a style without a detail. If I try to save this style right now, it'll give me an error message saying that, first of all, it's talking about the merge group codes that are required. We haven't filled this up, but it'll also talk about details once those fields are populated. All right, so let's talk about then. So I'm going to, again, close the details for now and go into additional header data. And as you could see, you have a number of different options here, and they all labeled BOM charges, dimensions. All of them are expendable, and each and every one has different options underneath them. So let's start with the first one. It's BOM. Now, BOM is basically a bill of material in Blue Cherry. And my understanding is you guys are not going to be using BOMs, bill of materials, basically because you're not tracking any fabric or anything like that. You're basically ordering goods, finished goods from the manufacturer, from the supplier, and as such, BOM is not being used. You could, when we start talking about production orders, you'll see that there's different production order types, and you may or may not require BOM for a particular production order. So if your BOM is required for production order and the BOM does not exist for this style that you enter in on the production order, it will simply not it will not allow you to create a production order without the BOM. But again, since it looks like you guys are not going to be using BOMs, I am going to skip this section and minimize this. It's there for you if you ever want to go back to it, though. Okay. All right. Let's talk about now the charges tab. So in the charges, we do have this different fields. There's a royalty class. There's royalty, commission, tax category, and tax exempt. So charges, a couple of things. First of all, I think David and I, and possibly Brian, we will have a separate session on royalty setup and resolution. Royalty is basically, again, something that we are, we know that you guys right now have one royalty contract. If I'm not mistaken, this is for your VNB brand. Normally, you could create a royalty. You could populate royalty for a particular style right into the screen. You can't do that. Normally, though, we do it differently. We basically decide what merge group is to use for royalty. So, for example, let's say you have a merge group called brand, and you're going to create different brands, private label, or VNB as an example. And then you can set up your royalty resolution, say every single style that does have a merge group brand and VNB assigned to it will basically resolve to a royalty. Basically royalty reference screen will resolve on that style, and then you could do your report on the royalty and basically say how much royalty will need to be paid out for this particular for this sales for that particular brand. So again, you could populate this here. I think right now there's no royalty set up in here, but once we do have, so normally just basically stop here quickly. We right now what we're doing is like a base style setup. However, we do have a few fields that are normally not part of the base training. they're more advanced, and royalty does belong into advanced session here. So I think once we get to it with David and possibly Brian, we'll start talking about that. Again, so there's also commission calculation for charges. If you are charging your customers taxes, you could populate that here, and then if you do charge freight, you can also populate this flag here. And then once you enter sales orders, then these additional charges will appear on sales orders as well. Okay, so typically charge freight flag will always stay on, but then again, freight resolution and freight setup is also done in separate screens, and we'll talk about that with probably David. Okay. All right, so those are charges screens. Here we do have dimensions tab, and dimensions is, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, I just don't want you to confuse these dimensions with size dimensions that we had before, where we identified the size attribute of a product. In here, you could basically populate your length, width, and height of a style of a particular product. I do believe these fields can be part of your EDI. So once you send an 832 record to your catalog, or sometimes people do use 832 item master to send to a 3PL warehouse, these fields come into play. They are part of the EDI document there, and they could go to a customer, to your 3PL or your catalog, and populate the data in there directly. So it's filled out here, and then you have your units of measurement. Again, we have a bunch of default values here already. You have inches, pounds, kilograms, and so forth. So you could, obviously, I think most of your products are going to be in inches, so you would populate that here. Again, non-required field, but
Maxim, is that referencing the packaged length dimensions or the dimensions of the product?
No, that's actually dimensions of the product.
Okay.
All right. All right. So that's your dimension tab. Then the HS number. So we did create an HS number for this product. I'm going to look that up, and it's 100% cotton here. You could do a quota category here if you do need to track that. Right now, there's no quota category. Non-required field. Primary COO, similar to primary contractor. If the style is mostly produced in China, you could populate this. It's a non-required field. However, I do believe that.
Yeah, we're going to need this. That's required.
I do believe that primary CO is also part of the 832 file that goes to either 3PL or your QRS catalog. And then you have HS number 2 and 3. I actually don't know what those numbers are. If you guys ever have a need for second and third HS number, I would imagine this is where they get populated. But again, I've never seen anybody using 2 and 3. Okay, so that's on HS number here. Then we come into merge groups, right? So as you could see, all your 13 merge groups are here. Again, as I think told you before, we can, let's say, if you have a division screen for your raw material division, you could decide that you only want to use I through M for them, and only display those merge groups for style entry screen for that raw material division, and the rest, for example, A through H use it for your finished goods division. So I mean, it's your option. Some people use all 13s across the division. It's your choice. You could customize it as much as you want. Just as an example, as you could see, all my merge groups are an additional header, not on the main header. However, if I go back to your test data set and I pick up an Alreen style master screen, I did move some of the merge groups from the additional header. As you could see, this field are empty. And I moved them up into your header level screen. So again, you could customize this. Some people do that. They most commonly used merge groups, they take them out from the additional header and put it directly into your main header screen, so they visible as soon as you open the style master. Like brand, for example, or product category, you probably want to display it right in a header band. Right now, again, this is an additional header, but you always have an option to move this up
Does each user have the option, or that's at the admin level?
It's normally we recommend create one shared screen for the whole company, not by user. You can set it up for individual users if you want to, but I think you're going to find that this is very inconvenient. If you're going to have 20 different screens, and if you're going to onboard people, train new people, you're going to find out that it's just going to be very overwhelming. So we normally recommend no more than one custom screen for a company, or maybe by department. At most. So I believe some of these merge groups have been set up as required. We could actually check this right now. If we go to merge groups and we just apply. So we do, oops, I didn't go to the right place. I had to go to merge group types. So on here, it basically tells me that these three, product category, product config, and product styles, are required. So that means we have to populate this data. So let's see what's in our product category. We created table linen, right? So this is table linen, product config. What's in the, okay, there's no data in product config and product style. There's no data. So I think it will not let me save this record until we populate this information. See, if I try to save this, it tells me merge group code 2 is required, which is basically this guy, and 3 is required. So we need to populate this. So guys, help me out. Let's go jump back into group, and let's create a record for product config. Molly or Brian, what can we do in product config? I don't know what this merge group is for. Doesn't have to be exactly, but give me something to put in.
We haven't set these up yet, but just pick anything. It doesn't matter. It's transparent at this point.
4-piece napkin set?
It's for napkins, yeah. Yeah. What is it, Molly? What's the product config?
4-piece napkin set. You guys sell them in sets of 4, correct?
Yeah, we sell napkins all different ways. Open stock, sets of 4, sets of 12. You go on and on.
That config would be like an option of the 4-piece set. There would probably be like an open stock option here, where it would tell you like how many are in there or what's in that set type of thing, if it's a standalone or multiple items that are commonly sold together.
All right, so I'll just put in the 4-piece napkin. I think right now we're just demonstrating how merge groups are used. Again, once Molly and David work on this merge group setups, then obviously they'll figure out exactly what goes into each individual. But for the time being, I'll just populate 4-piece napkin into this. And let's do one for the type C, which is product style. So what would be in product style, Molly?
Why don't you just do the 4-piece napkin again?
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, and again, we click this active and we save this. So let's go back to Style Master. By the way, one thing I wanted to show you, I forgot to show you, and I think you might have seen this before. You can write out a blue cherry, for example. If I do click here F2 to zoom, right now it did find the record, right? But for example, you see that the record is not there for you. A couple of things you can do. So first of all, if I click F2, I see my record is not here. I could click Add New right from here, and it'll take me immediately into Merge Group Reference, and you could create your record on the fly for yourself. And once you create it, it's going to be available immediately to you. And second option is, each field on blue cherry screen has a hyperlink to it. So if I click on the hyperlink directly, I could go straight into, existing records for, for this particular field and see what those records are. I could create new record, or I could just filter out and see what that record is all about in case I don't know what table linen is, and I could take a look at it and see what's in here. And basically everything on the Style Master does have that. So for example, seasons, if I click on seasons, I can jump straight into this particular season and see what's in here. Okay, so that's a pretty good benefit. So you don't have to go and search in the side panel for this. You could jump straight into this. All right, I'll apologize for this quick interruption. Go back to product config. Again, I'm jumping here, F2, and click one more time, F2. So I'm populating product config and product style. Everything else is a non-required field for merge groups. However, I see there's occasion, so I just want to check to see if there's anything in occasion here. Let me just click F2. Okay, so I see Christmas, Easter, and Halloween. I guess I could pick something. I don't know if it's going to be an example for this napkin, but let me just pick and say this is my Easter occasion, right? Not required field. However, I can populate this here. And now, as you can see, my last error message was that merge group number 2 and number 3 are required. If I do try to save this record now, okay, basically it doesn't give me that error message anymore. Now it tells me the form requires at least one detail item to save. And under detail items, we're talking about colors. They're not here, so we cannot save them. We cannot save the record just yet. So I'll continue talking. So this is merge groups. Again, if we decide that we're going to use a merge group for brand, for example, and we tie that brand merge group into royalty, once we populate the brand for this particular style, then obviously your royalty will also be populated and resolved, so that on your sales order entry, a royalty will be calculated and presented on reports. Okay. All right, merge groups we talked about. Let's go into next one, and this is packs. So on packs, normally there's a couple of things here. Min-mal. Min-mal is an important value here, and that basically tells you how you're going to sell this particular style. So, min-mal, normally if you keep your inventory, for example, this particular style is a napkin, right? But you don't, we decided that this is a 4-piece napkin set, right? So if you inventory your items in eaches, right? So you do have open stock of these napkins, and you have 1,000 napkins in stock, but you do sell 4 napkin minimum. Then you would change this min mal to 4. And what this does is when you create a sales order for this style, you could only create order in basically multiples of 4. You could create an order for 4 napkins, 8 napkins, 12 napkins, and so forth. If you create an order for 10 napkins, it'll simply say min mal. It'll give you a min mal error here. Okay, so that's how min mal is used. You could again keep this as 1. In that case, you can create an order, for 10 napkins, 12, 14, how many you want, basically.
The error appears in sales order entry?
On sales order entry, that's correct, yeah. So once you enter in a sales order, it will ask you to make sure that, you're creating an order in multiples of whatever that number is here, right?
Okay, so it gives it off an error. It doesn't round to that multiple.
It will not round. It will give you an error message and ask you to try and correct. Otherwise, it won't let you save the sales order. One other thing here to remember is also the pack quantity. So sometimes people do sell this inventory in eaches, but they, the pack quantity is basically 4. So you basically, what you're doing here is, if you do set up a pack quantity of 4, you are telling the system that you are storing your inventory in packs, right? And what happened? So for example, and the pack is each is an individual inventory. So basically, let's say you're given, when you do your inventory report, you run in and you get 1,000 pieces of this particular item in stock. However, if you do know that this is a pack of 4, then you automatically know that this is 4,000 napkins inside. So that's what pack quantity does. It basically tells you that you pack in this inventory in 4-piece packs here. Okay, so that's slightly different from min mal. And then you could create an order in individual numbers here. You could create an order for 10, but in reality, you're going to be packing 40 napkins inside. So that's how pack quantity is used. And then you have a carton quantity. Normally, I haven't seen the carton quantity used because again, it's something that could vary from depending on how you ship this, how many customer orders, and from what I know in your warehouse, you do have different cartons set up. So I'm not 100% sure if you are going to be using this, but this option here is available to you as well. Again,
so that's not the instruction to the vendor on how many pieces in the master carton that they should send to our warehouse. That's how we want to do it.
I would not do that here. Not in this style master field. You could pack in instructions. We could basically either provide additional information somewhere, notes and things like that. But I would not populate this on the style master record here. Then you do a style weight, pack weight. Again, if you do sell in packs or style individually, as well as the carton weight, carton group and EDI pack code. Normally, it's not used here because you do have a separate field for carton setups. Again, when we do the warehouse setups, we do have a field in the system called carton reference, and where you're going to set up your standard cartons. I think you mentioned you have 4 in the warehouse, and and pack codes, EDI pack codes is also used in that carton reference setup, and this is normally used for ASN. So when you send out, so basically when you do packing, right? I think David knows some of that stuff. When you do scan and pack in Blue Cherry, and then you basically pack everything into a particular carton. That carton has an EDI pack code, which is transmitted on ASN and goes to a customer. So we normally don't do it on the style level. We do it on the carton reference level when you do pack the goods. Okay. And EDI pack codes, they're standard EDI pack codes. I think if Rose is on the phone, she's probably seen this before. CTN25 and PLT79, those are standard EDI pack reference codes that are being used on the ASN records. Okay, so that's on packs here. All right, let's talk about now we have prices tab after the packs, and let me just open this up. So you have a number of options here as well. So hold on just 1 second. So you do have a retail price that's normally used, again, either for reporting purposes or many times, I believe 832 will require retail price to populate. Do you guys change your retail price when you report to 832? Do you report by customer, or is it not by customer level? It's just one standard retail price?
We're actually going to identify this with a deep dive, because we may use different pricing structures, and obviously the 832 upload, it's segregated by customer, but we're still identifying this.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, but you can populate if you need to. You could populate different price level by different customers, retail prices also. Hold on just 1 second. I'm trying to, because I'm taking some notes, and I have to bring up my screen too. Okay, there you go. All right, so that's on retail price. Then you do have price A, B, C, D, and E, right? So those are your wholesale prices for customers. This is prices that you're going to be selling the product to a customer at. Normally most people use price A, and that's basically a standard wholesale price for your customers. So this price will populate automatically when you do create a sales order. So once you create an order to a customer, it'll basically, whatever the price you set here, it'll populate on sales order create entry. Why do people use B, C, D, and E? You could do different things here. For example, you can, and we'll talk, when we talk about customers, we could set up different customer types, right? So you could have a specialty store, or a boutique, or closeout store, or some different things. And we do know that most of your customers are EDI customers, and obviously when the EDI comes in, we don't care about what price is populated here. But for manual order entry, for some of your customers where you're going to be entering orders manually, it's helpful to populate the price automatically, and you could assign different prices to different types of customers. You could say, I want for my closeout customers to use price C, for my specialty price, or maybe customers that on a different tier, they buy a lot of product, I want them to use price D, which is a lower price. So normally you would have like different pricing tiers. So let's just populate, so this retail price for, and this would for this napkin set maybe it's going to be $15. Okay, what happened? Am I frozen? Okay, $15. And and price A, for example, for this customer would be $5 for this customer would be $4. For this 3, you basically given like different discounts. I think I think our standard cost was $1.50. I'm going too aggressive. Let me do this for $4.50.
Are we building the matrix for price A, price B, C, et cetera, somewhere else?
Rephrase that one more time, Brian. I'm sorry.
Are we building the matrix of what customers fall under A, B, C, D, and a reference table somewhere else?
Yeah, there's a reference table, and I think we do have a session tomorrow on customer master. So there's a table which is a subset of customer master called customer sales, and that's where you can assign a different price level to a particular customer. So you could do it either by customer or you could do it by customer type. So it's it's done separately. So in here you populate how much you would sell this for, and then you could decide which one of your customers will be getting price A, which one will be getting price B, and so forth. Okay. You could also build some formulas into this. For example, you could say that price E is a formula of price A. So maybe like a 20% discount or something like that. So you won't need to populate that data manually. But if there's no formula dependency here, then you might have to do that. But there is a ways to build some formulas into this as well. Okay. As you can see, also it automatically calculates markup because we know that standard cost for this towel is $1.50. We would sell it for $5, so the markup is 0.7. If I change this to $4, for example, markup automatically changes to 0.625. So exactly what you're selling for. So I think 70% is not a bad markup at all. Operating standard cost, prior price. I do believe that prior price is actually I don't know what this field is. I have to let me double check that. I'm not 100% sure how. I think these are calculated, or maybe it's saved in the system. If you do change the price, I believe prior price will retain the value. So, for example, if your price A was $5, then 6 months later you come back, you put in a new price. I think it'll retain the prior price here, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. Production value. Also, I think production value is used as an FOB cost. Again, I think most of those are used. I think this value is just used for reporting fields, but I would have to double check. So I'm not 100% sure on this field here. And it does tell you when the price A was modified. So it's telling you right now that CGS admin modified the price on 3/18. So if there's any change to a style price A, then you know who exactly did it and when. Okay. So that's on prices here. Then you do your sales. This, I think I am going to skip here. This tab is, I don't think you are going to be using this. This is typically used for allocation process when you sometimes, for example, just to give you an example, coordinate codes. So you could coordinate some goods, and you could see, like, for example, if you have a sales order for napkins and a tablecloth, they have to go together. You cannot, for example, if you're on sales order, you have both, but you only have one in stock, you cannot ship the other one. So you sort of create like a coordination between the two, and you link them together. And if allocation runs through a process and it doesn't find inventory for one, then it will not allocate this complete sales order, just because there's this link is missing here, and that also has to do with chase dates and lead time. You know exactly how much time you need to ship to this particular customer. Tops and bottoms coordination. So I think it's. I don't believe that you guys are going to be using these details. However, when we start talking about allocations, we could cover this in more. We could take a deeper dive into that. Okay. So that's on sales here. Then you have your size explosions. That's normally used to, if you do have very standard pre-packs, for example, like I know in the apparel business they use a lot of this. When they pack certain products, it always comes as, for example, small, medium, large, extra large in a scale of 1, 2, 2, 1. You could use these to explode your sizes automatically when you do an entry. I'm not sure Alrain is going to use this. I don't know if you guys have any standard packs set up in your system. So that's on size explosions. Unit of measurement here. I think this particular product, you are probably, well, let's do inches. We're going to be selling in inches. Then you do have also volume, cubic unit of measurement, and weight unit of measurement, and that's also I've seen it used in 832 sometimes, especially for 3PL 832s, because they do require that you send them the volume of a style as well as your unit of measure for volume as well as a weight unit of measure. So I would probably say we do need to populate that. I think you probably know this data better than I do, but let's just say that this is going to be 1. We don't have any, actually, I don't see we have any cubic unit of measures yet, so we could add that, but let me just leave that blank. It's an unrequired field. We could set that up later if we want to. So that's units of measure. UPC. Okay, so that's an important field here. A couple of things on the UPC. First of all, you do have this flags here: order assign UPC and order assign EAN. I don't think you guys are using the EANs because those are normally used when you ship to Europe. Everything is going to be done through UPCs. So there's a control in Blue Cherry that basically that is set to automatically create UPCs for style when style is set up in the system, or possibly, and maybe Molly knows this, when you create design master, Molly, do you assign UPCs at that moment of time, or do UPCs get assigned only on the style when you promote design to a style master?
There's a process that you have to run
from a design to a style master.
But there's a process that you have to run for that. It doesn't just automatically do it.
Right. So yeah, there are different ways to set that up. You could run a process. You could but obviously the flag has to be checked for this. So as of right now, as you could see, the flag is not checked by default, and the reason why it's not checked is because your controls in Blue Cherry are basically telling you not to set up the UPCs. However, if you do have that checked, and you create a style, and then you run the process, it'll use your manufacturing ID, which is it does exist elsewhere, and it's on divisional level. I'm not sure if we actually did set that up. Let me just take a look. Yeah, so right now, as you could see, a manufacturer ID is just like a fake number, 9999. But once we populate your correct UPC prefix and we run the process, then the styles will automatically have UPCs assigned to them. Now, if we do click here on the Style Master, there's in the ribbon there's a button that says Sizes Allowed, right? So right now we're telling the system that we're basically allowing size 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 plus the pre-pack size, right? It doesn't. We're not talking about dimensions yet, just the sizes. So, and if you remember when we were setting up the size code, we basically said, hey, we're using size 17 with a dimension 17, and that's the only available size we have. And then for 18, we did use 18 as well, 19, 19, 20, 20. So we will only create UPCs for those records. So UPCs will not be created for example, for size 17 and dimension 18, because we basically said that size is not allowed for this particular style. Okay, and that's how the UPC assignment works. One other thing here is the catalog destinations. So Blue Cherry does have 9 catalog destinations, and catalog destinations, when you think about catalog, one first thing that pops in mind, obviously this is your QRS catalog. So by populating a catalog value here, you're telling that this style is eligible to be submitted to QRS catalog. However, you do have a bunch of options here, and then you might ask me what other options do I need if I only have one catalog. And so some people do use catalog destinations for example, B2B. We have this different product that's Threadwine, and we could set it up as a catalog destination as well. So we could say, hey, this style I also want to submit to Threadwine, and see it there. So that's what catalog destination could be used for. You could also, for some customers, you are going to be sending what's called 846, and I'm sure David and Rose know about this. 846. This is an inventory load to those customers, and you could set them up as even though they're not catalogs technically, but we call them catalogs in the system. We say, hey, we need to send inventory to Nordstrom. So then Nordstrom would be created as a catalog here, and only styles that you do sell to Nordstrom will be you would identify them as catalog Nordstrom, and then once you're on the 846 process, just for the Nordstrom catalog, you will then send the inventory for those styles to Nordstrom. And same thing, you could go, for warehouses. If, for example, if you have multiple warehouses and you want to send different inventory to different warehouses, you could use catalog destinations to separate those warehouses and send the inventory just to them. And obviously there are many other options as well, but those are pretty standard to use for this catalog destination fields. So right now we only using one, but there's a possibility as your business grows, you might start, you might have more here. Or if you do have any 846s for your customers, you're definitely going to see more here. All right, so that's on UPC. And the last field here is your user-defined field. So in Blue Cherry language, you're going to hear a lot UDF fields, and UDF is basically user-defined fields. You do have a number of header level UDF fields here. Now, I'm not sure why this one is called contractor. There's a possibility somebody renamed this already. But normally this is, so normally you would see here UDF 1, 2, 3, and 4, plus you have your content 2 and 3. So those UDF fields that you can use, they're basically additional data that we just don't have an extra field in the system for, because you have pretty much everything you could think about, but sometimes customers says, well, I want to store some other piece of information that's relative to my business, but you guys don't have a field for it here. So that's what we have UDF fields for. And almost every record in Blue Cherry will have UDF fields. So Style Master does have UDF fields. Customer Master has UDF fields. Sales order entry has UDF fields. Production order entry has UDF fields. All of these fields can be renamed to say something else that is meaningful to your business right now. So, for example, instead of saying style header UDF2, I could, for example, you guys decide in here you do want to populate a very specific information for a product that doesn't belong to merge groups, doesn't belong anywhere, but you need to save it here. Then you could call this field that name, and then you could populate this. And it's a free form entry. What that means is you can see there is no glasses here. There's no lookups. You don't need to create those records in advance. You could basically type anything you want here. I've seen, just to give you a use as an example, and I know we talked about this during the BPR, not for Style Master, but for your warehouse, right? So we spoke about sending some information to a warehouse, gift messages, for example, right? So you could use UDF field, and you could type something like put yellow, or let's not do yellow, red ribbon on the box. Well, this particular field has 20 character limitation, but depending on what messages you could put in, this one has 30 character limitation. This one is basically just a numeric value field. You could assign something else to it. And then you do have these two fields also. I think they're either 20 or 30 character fields here. So you do have a lot of options to communicate, extra information that doesn't have any Blue Cherry placeholder for, and that's what UDF fields are used. And again, they're used on both header and detail, and they're different values that could be used on detail level and on header level here, right? There's also a CPSIA template. I think this has to do with Child Protection Act. I'm not sure if you guys do have to comply with that at all. But I don't know if this also has any kind of functionality behind it, or is it just reporting purpose? Molly, possibly you know more about CPSIA?
I think they don't do anything that they'll use that for. Okay,
all right. Core art number. I started seeing this field in Blue Cherry recently. I know it's not mandatory, and I don't know what exactly this one represents. So, Molly, if you know core art number, please chime in. If not, then I'll skip this because I don't know exactly what this number is.
No, I'm pretty sure that's just a field that a customer had added, and therefore it was named that way. Same with contractor. Those aren't renamed. It's just somebody paid to put that field in and named it that way. So it's a freebie for you guys to use it however you see fit. It doesn't link to anything.
So contract, I don't think it's somebody who paid for it, right? My expectation is contract is UDF field. It's just that somebody renamed this. Somebody renamed this in at Alreen at some point. Maybe you did, or is that no? Or it's how it came into the system.
Nope, it comes standard that way.
Oh, interesting. Okay. If I go to language reference, can I rename this contractor field? I guess I can, right? We'll do it later. Don't need to do it right now. But core art, I definitely I saw it in a couple of other implementations, but I've never seen. I don't know what they use for this, so I'm going to skip that part. All right. So that covers additional header information on Style Master, and then we do have here Images tab, right? So right now the image is NA, not available. However, you can add image by going into images here, and then there's a button that says attach image. So I could definitely go ahead and pick that up, click on new, give it some kind of a description, and then there's a lookup value here. So right now it takes me into documents. However, in Blue Cherry, there's a image repository here that a lot of people upload their images to. Actually, if I do look under applications, and David, maybe I'll when we have the EDI session, we'll talk about BC folder structure. That's important for EDI section. But in BC folders, if we open this up, for example, if I go to ELTE, which is your test, we're in training environment. Maybe training environment, and then we're going to go into attachments. So in here we do have, looks like just an Allreen logo, but you could drop your images here, or you could create a separate. Some people do create a separate folder just for images, and then you could create your image structure here. But for argument's sake, let me just do something. Give me 1 second. And then also, Molly, I'm not 100% sure because I know you do add images when you do a design master. Do those images also get populated in the style master when you do a promotion, or?
It pulls over the primary image.
It pulls them in the primary, and if you have a number of them, it just picks one up. There's one primary image there as well?
There's only one primary image in the design master. It's the farthest most left,
okay.
And it becomes the thumbnail as well.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so let me, I'm going to try something. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to try to pick one image from Allreen and drop it into the folder. Let's see how that works out. Give me 1 second. And I'll put this into attachments for now. Ooh, can I do that? Can I create a separate images folder or no? Will let me do that or no? Okay, I think in here, and this is part of, oh, maybe I could do that. Okay. Choose files, desktop, okay. And where is it going to? Folder name? Plus. Okay. I think it got uploaded somewhere, but I'm not sure where it got uploaded to. Does it tell me? I don't know how to drop images here. Molly, any idea? Have you worked with, because usually, normally with Cloud 2, you can copy and paste, but this guy doesn't let me. I dropped in
that Allreen logo earlier this morning, and I designated it that it dropped to this PC under the local shared drive.
You did. I saw a logo here, but oops.
Go to this PC, unhide that or click on it.
How did you
should go to?
Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that again. What did you do one more time?
Open that folder again.
Which folder? The Allreen folder? Oh, you know why? Maybe, I think, is it because it's within the Blue Cherry? Let me try this. Hold on just 1 second. If I just minimize, why is it not clicking? Is this guy frozen? Choose files is working. How do I close this? I don't know. Oh, there you go. Okay, let me try something. If I just go into here, I wonder if that's gonna work. Elegance, copy. No. Drag and drop. And then it pops up, file upload and finished. Refresh the shared disk in my computer. So there's a shared disk, right?
Yep. So if you go to the little yellow folder, double click on this PC.
And then?
Just double click on that again, and then you should get an option for a local shared drive that's underneath that.
Oh, okay.
Right
so
there.
Is this the guy?
Local share.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, excellent. Yep, I found it. Okay. So let me try to put this into, let me see if I could put this into attachments. So training, attachments, and paste. Okay, that worked. Very good. Thank you, Molly.
So it actually automatically goes into that folder when you attach it from the Style Master or Design Master, wherever you are in the system.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me do this attachment right now, and I'm going to click New, click One, and so let's pick this from this particular source. Oh, I don't know what that link is, but you know what? Since you said that, so let's just pick this up from local share. There you go. Okay, and the image is here now. If I click OK, oh yeah, you want to flag this as primary? Very good. So if I do now click on the header, as you could see, now I do have this napkin set on my primary image. And same thing if I click on images here. Oh, do I need to save before it pops up? Display images. Okay. You're not here. Okay. We might have to save that record before it does show up. Okay. So the additional header level has been filled out. We talked about images. Now let's go into details here. Under details, you know, so you have, you know, as I said before, you have to fill out colors here. So I'm going to click New. And, you know, you have your color screen here. I could click F2. And let's pick gray. I think that's the guy we created before. Gray color. Then I would go into tabs here. Labels. Label filter. Currently, we haven't created any labels for you. I have some feedback. Can somebody mute there? There you go. No. Okay. So labels might be used when you sell one style to different customers and you label them differently. Label has a separate reference in the system. As of right now, I don't think we created any labels at all. Yep, they're empty, but sometimes people do use labels by customer to indicate how this particular style is packed for this particular customer, or how it's ticketed for this particular customer. And now this is where you get into your dim packs, right? So you create in a color record, right? And then we want to create it for, let's start with dim pack 17, right? You see it automatically found only the dim packs just for that size code. So as you remember before, we had a bunch of other dim packs, but they found this particular. So I'm picking 17. And you know, if you click now, size is allowed. So you know, we only know that basically for this particular record, for this particular dim pack, we're only allowing size 17. So this is basically, this guy was set up as size 17 and dimension 17. And we do click OK here. Again, the style has active and available, because you could deactivate by color. You could deactivate a complete style. You could say, okay, I'm not selling, you know, gray color anymore. I'm only selling white or black, or you name it. And then you do have different, you know, royalty classes, just because your royalty could be also different by colors, you know, dependent if particular resolution has been done for a particular color, you pay more. But normally it'll propagate from the header level here, because right now the header level hasn't been populated for us. So the royalty class and royalty here is also blank. And as you remember, we populated price A $5 on the header level, and it populated here to 5 as well. However, we have an option here. For example, if this particular color costs more, because of the fabric you use, or the some processes that you use to dye the fabric or something, you could say, okay, this particular color is going to be $6 or more expensive. So you have this option. And same thing goes for retail price as well as the standard cost. If your color cost more money to produce, you have an option to change this. So at this point, this particular style has everything we need to save the entry. We haven't completed the setup yet because we only did it for DIMPAC for dimension 17. But if I try to save this now, it should technically allow me to save this style. So let me go ahead and do that. I click on save. Yep. So it looks like everything. It didn't give me any error messages, I was able to save that record successfully. So if I go back, if I close Style Master, if you don't save the record, if you get out of this tab, obviously you're going to lose all your data entry. But if I do save this and it doesn't give me any error messages, when I come back to it, I could see my record. So this is my napkin. It has an image to it. It comes in right now only one color, gray. DIMPAC is 17, and obviously the size is 17 here. So I would then continue setting up the Style Master here. What I can do is I could, because we keeping basically everything same, and we're just using different DIMPACs. I would copy it over, and I would choose DIMPAC 18. And then when you tab out of it, for DIMPAC 18, the only size that's available here is 18. As you can see, I cannot even click on any of these records because our size code was set up to not allow a combination, for example, of a DIMPAC 18 and size 17. So we do that again. I think Molly mentioned you guys have different costs by dimensions. So, for example, if this standard cost is not $1.50 anymore, just because it's a bit bigger napkin, maybe we could do $1.60 cost here, right? And I could copy it over. Again, it's the same color, same everything, but we are picking different dimension packs. So that's going to be 19. Let's say this one is also slightly more expensive, so it's going to be $1.70 to produce. Copying over. The next one is going to be 20, and again, let's say it's going to be $1.80.
Change the price A also, or just the cost?
Yes, you can. So you could do that too.
Just talk about the header and the details different, Maxim.
Yeah, so I'm going to go into this. Very good point, David. So let me just complete this setup here. So I am doing the last, I'm doing the last dimension, which is 21. And let's make this slightly more expensive, and let's sell it for $5.75, right? And I am going to save this, okay? And this is basically our style setup. As of right now, you could see it exists in one color with this dimension packs, and this guy is 21 by 21. This guy is 20 by 20, and so forth. Now, what I think, if I understood David correctly, what he asked me to talk about is the fact that you have different values here on header and detail. So as you could see, for example, on header level, you have a standard cost of $1.50. However, on detail level, the standard cost here is $1.50, $60, $70, and so forth. So they're different. And this is an important concept to understand in Blue Cherry. Basically everywhere on your reports, in your functionality, the real information always is on detail level and not on the header level. Basically, because it could change from detail to detail. Header level will give you sort of a first look of this information. But if your styles will change from detail to detail, then you have to go into a detail record and find what that data value is. And everywhere on your reports, for example, your selling report, you're obviously going to be presenting detail level data. So costs are going to be presented on detail level, prices and so forth. All the calculations are going to come from detail. So it's very important to maintain your details correctly, because that's where the true source of information is. And here's what Blue Cherry does, and I want to, again, dependent, because most of the people actually, are slightly different. Usually their detail levels are exactly the same as the header. Just as an example, like an apparel business, small, medium, large, extra large, they will cost same amount of money to produce and same prices to sell. But if in your case it's different, obviously your details, will start carrying, greater value of importance here. So one important thing of Blue Cherry, every time you change something on detail level, right? For example, let's say, this style you decided to update to, $1.75, right? So I put the header level $1.75, I tab out of it. The first question it's going to do you want to cascade this change to all detail lines? So in essence, what the system is asking you, it's saying, can I take this $1.75 value and populate it for all these records here? And obviously, if you know that in your business these values are different, you definitely want to say no to this. Otherwise, if I click yes, watch what happens to the standard cost on all these detail levels. So you could see they all change to reflect to what's been entered on the header level value, right? So I could, if I make that mistake, I could always say undo, and this data will revert back to what it was before. Say if I just want to save to $1.75 and I tab out of it, do you want to cascade? I'm going to say no, right? And as you could see, all this data still remained the same, and just the header information data is basically different here, right? Now, just one important concept to understand: once you save the record, you cannot undo this anymore, right? So now, if I click undo, nothing will change, right? Because there's nothing to undo. It only is good as your last save is, okay? So then you would have to fix this manually. So just be careful about that. So keep talking about this detail level. So let's say this style now does come in, let's say this is gray color, but we also wanted to say that this come in white as well. So I would do the same thing here. I could either click new on detail level, or I could copy it over. Let's just do new. And I would pick a new color here, and that would be white. And again, no label. Again, DIM pack, let's do 17. And as you could see, because our standard cost was populated on header as $1.75, so it's going to try to use that cost here, $1.75. Again, you have an option to change this if you want to. So I'm going to save it and then click copy. I was copying a different record. I wanted to copy a white record. Okay. 18, and then copy 19, copy 20, copy, and 21. So, and then I do save that. And so now this style now exists in, gray and white in different dimensions here, right? And and one thing, right, Brian, you asked me at some point before, why do we create two size codes, right? So again, I only created them for demo purposes only, because I wanted to basically tell you, how sizes and dimensions used together. So I just want to briefly go through this and create a new style, but use a different size code to explain you basically how this would work. So, we have this guy here, 07588. Now, if I copy it over, see, I could copy complete records here. Now, everything's already filled in for me, right? We're basically copying every single thing for a style. However, I have to give it a new style name because you cannot save it. So original was 07588, I think. So I could do 07588A, just to separate these two. And for the size code, instead of NP1, and I think we would have to delete all these detail records here. So I'll just quickly go ahead and delete the detail records. Okay, so there's no detail records in the style right now. And instead of size code NP1, I'm going to go ahead and pick NAP, right? So everything stays the same, and we are picking up a new color here, a new detail record, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick gray and no label. Now, as you remember that this size code NAP, we have not created any dimensions for it at all. So if I click F2, it basically says no records to look up, right? Because they haven't been created. Now, if I do look now in sizes allowed for this particular color line, it will tell me that we have this color in 5 different sizes: 17 by 17, 18 by 18, 19 by 19, 20 by 20, 21 by 21. And once I click OK, I'm done. So I don't need to create multiple detail records if I have this option to have sizes across. And I could do the same thing, copy, and instead of gray, I'm going to put color white. Again, if I click sizes allowed, I show that I do have allowed sizes as such. I click OK. I do click save.
If you didn't want all those sizes, could you unclick the box?
You can, yes. I could. I could definitely go ahead and say that. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing though, I want to make sure you understand is if you used this particular size in any transactions, you will not have this option to unclick this anymore. You could only do this, if you haven't used it up in the transactions. But once they used, you basically, they are always going to be set as allowed sizes. However, you do have an option, so allowed and available, right? So you have a different thing called available sizes, and that's where you could basically say, okay, I don't want to use going forward for any sales order entry, I don't want to use 17 by 17. We stop selling this. So you can uncheck available, and it will not let you create sales orders anymore for 17 by 17 if it's unchecked. So allowed, just to understand that sizes allowed basically means, this product comes in this particular sizes. Sizes available is what I can sell to a customer, right? Now, this is my selling unit, right?
So if we want to create just the 17 by 17 napkin in this item, reason being we don't want the auto-generated UPCs, the auto-assigned UPCs, to create all these UPCs that we're never going to produce, right?
You are very much correct, right? So you would unclick this. You see, so, and that's why basically some people create, large size scales, but only pick sizes that are needed for their particular business. Again, you're allowed up to 24 size buckets on the size code. And, as an example, again, I know more about apparel business than home goods, but, you would set up size codes. Many people, and what sometimes people do, right, just to give you an idea, right, so you have, for example, 07588, so they would do maybe this particular style for petites, so they would use like a prefix or a suffix to a number, so they would code 07588P, and that they know they would use a size code for petites only, and then M would be for Missy, J would be for junior, right? So some people, create same style number for style, but add these prefixes or suffixes to indicate that, to use the size codes. They're only for Missy sizes, or for petite sizes, or plus sizes, or junior sizes, and so forth. So I just know it does help with data entry, because you could see the difference here. I only created 2 records as opposed to creating for this style ended up creating 8 different records. So it just it takes slightly longer time, but if you do have to cost your products differently by dimensions, because unfortunately one thing Blue Cherry does not allow you to cost style by sizes. So for example, just going back into here, and you have different sizes, one size 17 by 17. So standard cost for these sizes will always be $1.75, and it will not change. So if your business does require you to cost by dimensions, then I guess dimensions would be your only choice, right? So that's that. So I just wanted to make sure you understand the difference between. So I'll jump back into here, and then let's talk about a couple more things. So as I said before, you do have additional information on the header level. However, each detail line, in this case color dimension line, will also have, if you click on the plus to it, it has a number of, very similar number of tabs under it as well. And some of them are going to be similar to what you found in the header level. So for example, BOM, which we said we're not going to use, and then charges, and GDSN. Well, I don't know why they call it GDSN, because on top the same record is called differently. I'm actually not using standard style master, huh? I went into a regular one. Okay, let me do this. Let me get out and go to standard. So maybe that's why. Let me see. Oh yeah, there you go. So in the other one they labeled it differently. Okay, I was like, why is it different? Okay, so BOM we're not talking about. So then you do have now carton dimensions here, which we did not have in the header level, and this is where you could populate some of the carton length, carton width, carton height, and then you do have charges, and then style dimensions, HS number, which as you could see, it populated from the header level. So same thing for primary country of origin. However, again, if for example your gray color and white color is using different fabric or different material, your HS number can change by detail level. Irregular style. I think irregular style is sometimes used for damages, unless Molly knows any other use for this, but I think that's what they use irregular style for. then you do have your merge groups. Again, it populated from the header, but you can change merge groups on the detail level as well. Then you do have your packs, min-mal. You do have your prices. As you could see, it's all populated, and you cannot see price A, but the price A actually is listed here on right there for you to see. Properties, and that talks about the NRF color code, talks about the content of a style type. It does have WAC cost, as I said, which is separate from the standard cost, and a few other things like use conveyor, which is if you do have conveyor system, and I believe it's working with AWS system together, but that's warehousing field, and don't think you guys are going to use that. Then your sales coordination for allocation, your explosion for size, unit of measurement, UPCs, again, catalog destinations, and that's important. All the assigned UPCs checked for this particular detail. It came from the header level because we checked it. Again, just to reiterate, the UPC will only be created for sizes that the check is allowed. So if your allowed size is checked to 17 and your dimension pack is 17 as well, then you're only going to create one record, one UPC record for this particular detail line. And then you have your UDF fields. So UDF fields, again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think 5, plus the content fields, which are also UDF fields. And then you do have colorway numbers, which I think they're coming from PLM system, right, Molly? I think colorway is a PLM record field.
Correct.
Okay, and that's basically it on Style Master. I have saved this record. If I do go to Style Master, let me close this. If I do go to Style Master Standard, and if I do a search, let's say by season. So let me search every single style that belongs to season Spring 19. I click Apply. So it found me these two records we just created. If I click Show Filter, I pick something else, let's say Winter 19. I have a good feeling that nothing is going to be found. Let me try Apply. Yeah, it says no data found for this criteria, so it's empty. If I do pick Spring 2019, click Apply, and again, it finds two styles. You could then jump right into creating a style, making changes to a style, reviewing the style, taking a look at the picture, and do any other things that you need to do, updating information if you have to. You can, once style is created and it's not used in any of the detail records, in any of transactions, for example, or it's not used in any other fields. Like, just to give you an idea, for example, let's say I want to go to dimensions right now, right? So if I'm in dimensions and I want to try to delete my dimension 17, if I click delete right now, how would you like to apply current record only? Click OK. You're about to delete this record. Proceed. I think it should not let me delete that. Yeah, it says records exist in size range reference detail. So basically it tells me that I cannot delete this because it's already used up somewhere else. Now, I do have this style. I'm just going to create a backup record here so I could show you. So I'm going to say copy. I'm going to give it a different style name called 07588B, for example, and click save. So if I do show filter now, I have 3 different records, right, for a style. So I could, be in here, I could do this. I could, click delete, right? So once you filter down to a particular selection, so in my case, my selection is Spring 19 on the filter, right? I picked every single style Spring 19. I click apply. I found 3 records. I could then click on this records. Let me do this last one, and I could click delete. So now it's asking me, what do you want to do? How do you want to apply your delete? Do you want to apply it to current record only, or do you want to apply it to all in search results? So if I do current record only, and I click OK, it's going to delete only this selected record that's in focus right now. So it's in focus, and I'm going to be deleting that record now, right? And I'm going to do that now. You're about to delete this, yes. Boom, it's gone. That's it. It's deleted, right? Now, for example, you want to delete all of them, and there will be cases sometimes you will be deleting stuff. If I click delete, and it says all in search results, so basically everything that my filter found, everything I filtered down to, in this case 2 records, if I click all in search results and I click OK, now this is what's called mass delete. And this is a kind of dangerous tool. So what Blue Cherry does, there's this very smart prompt here when it says mass delete. So it's telling you, what do you want to do? Basically, it's
Maxim, hold on one second. Yeah. There's only going to be 2 people that are going to do this, and we're actually 15 minutes over.
Okay.
So let's do this. Let's wrap up here with style, this portion from the agenda, and what I'll do is I'll teach Brian and Craig and the other person that's going to do this. Thank you.
Very good. Absolutely. Okay. I think that's basically it on the Style Master at this point. I mean, I covered most of it. There are some advanced setups, David, that I think you and I we should go over in details, especially when we talk about our Style Master loads. But I think we'll cover it in a separate session. Other than that, do you guys have any questions now? I'm not sure who else is on the phone right now, but Brian, Rose, David, O'Malley, do you guys have any questions or comments on this?
For me, pretty self-explanatory.
I'm okay for now. Thanks, Maxim.
Yeah,
right,
thank
guys.
you, Maxim.
Thanks,
you.
Maxim. Again, LREAM team, eForce, this will be saved to the public drive and also published to the SharePoint so you can hit it from home anytime that you want. Thank you very much, Maxim.
Thank you, David.